Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. What is happening? What is good? Welcome to that Sunday night live stream, guys. We got a lot to get through this evening. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet, even though I don't. Yo, what's good? Crypto Jasmine, what's happening? Yo, Soris, I got you, man. We'll have a conversation, bro. Mad love from Austria. What is happening in Austria? Who's with me in this live tonight? Wherever you are in the world, mad love and respect for passing through to tonight's live stream. Sunday night update, bringing you Bitcoin and the markets, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have that conversation. We got lots to talk about. We got to talk about the UK. We got to talk about the US. Things are happening, guys. Mad love. Hamster trade, what is happening? The priest. Mad love to all the pattern walkers. Walkers. Pattern watchers. But I like the walkers, man. I like that. Jose, what's good? Good evening, Scorpio. What's happening? Wicked, wicked. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll with the flavor this evening. We're going to bring in the New York. We're going to bring in the Asian session this evening, guys. We've got a plethora of news announcements happening over this start of this new week. Mini Market Maker is doing well. Mad love for that, man. She's getting rested. Back to school. And it's going to be a mad week for us as well, ladies and gentlemen. So let's roll with the flavor. Mad love for everyone passing through. Let's have a conversation tonight. Okay then. So guys, what is happening? I hope you're all doing well. Tonight's live stream is just going to talk about what to expect from Bitcoin going into the start of tomorrow. Now, the markets do open in the best part of 10 minutes time, guys. Now we're talking about all the conventional markets, legacy markets, futures, Forex, you name it. And then, of course, we'll be having the stock market opening up tomorrow morning, which will be the UK, 9 a.m., ringing that bell to bring in the madness of what's been going on in this past week. So, yes, we do have one very important news announcement. Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System at 11:30 a.m. on Monday will be having a meeting. Now, this is an unannounced meeting, ladies and gentlemen. Something is brewing, and this is all because of the PCE reading, the core price index reading that came out on Friday, ladies and gentlemen, up 0.6. So they projected 0.5. So in other words, inflation is still a problem for the Fed. More people are in employment. A couple of the top boys in Wall Street are talking about the idea that the actual employment market may not actually suffer as much as what the Fed would anticipate it to or would like it to, so that they can roll with this control of inflation. But we need to address something as well, ladies and gentlemen. The British pound. What has the British pound got to do with anything? Could the British pound be the catalyst for what's to happen around the economies of the world? Well, check this out. The British pound itself, ladies and gentlemen, has taken an absolute nosedive, followed by the euro itself. Okay? Look at this bad boy right here. Let's just roll on the higher time frames. This is despicable behavior by the pound. Nearly 1-for-1 on the dollar, ladies and gentlemen. So close to that parity mark. Unbelievable. Same with the euro, but the euro's managed to do a little bit of a recovery from that. Now, word on the street says that quantitative easing may be delivered by the Bank of England. So what do we mean by quantitative easing? Okay? Well, what it means is it's designed to keep inflation on target and make sure that they can stimulate the economy in some way to get people to spend money, because people right now are feeling kind of scared. Okay? Now, the importance of this is this. If the US is still got a problem with inflation, then they will need to start bringing in quantitative easing. Could the UK trigger the same thing for the US? Well, what we've got to understand is the UK itself, all right? Over the last July to, let's start with some older dates. Back in November 2009, ladies and gentlemen, so if we bring up the monthly time frame, back in November 2009, they did a quantitative easing of about 200 billion. Jump forward to June 2020, it went to 745 billion. And then November 2020, they did another $895 billion worth, billion pounds worth of quantitative easing to stimulate the economy. Okay? Now, that's not really a great thing when the actual government starts buying bonds so that it can reduce the cost of the actual yields. Now, listen, we've got this problem with the US. The yields are shooting up, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Narrowly missed that 4% mark. Triggered it, actually. Okay? And then came back down a little bit. If you can reduce the bonds, then that means that people then will be favoring spending money elsewhere rather than seeking the safety of the government. Okay? Now, how does this relate over to Bitcoin? Well, let's just look at Bitcoin and the start of a new monthly candle and what the impact's going to be like for Bitcoin going into the start of next week, because we got a lot of data coming out next week, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So far, Bitcoin on the monthly time frame right here, ladies and gentlemen, is looking like we are getting a slowdown in the way price is moving lower. We've had non-stop 1, 2, 3, 4 months of price being pushed down lower. Saw a little bit of a recovery right here, and we seem to have done this test 1 and 2 in this zone. Now, if we go to the weekly time frame for Bitcoin, you can see that we do have ourselves these final vector zones, and I'm going to keep mentioning them to you. Very important that we pay attention to these zones, guys. Why? Because it's with these zones that we know that they would finalize the last points of interest in the chart, where if we were to get another drop down lower, these will be the points that Bitcoin would, in principle, start to turn from. Okay? Because then if we look at it from a perspective of how much value Bitcoin has lost, if we go down towards these vector points, that would be an 80% drop. Now, word on the street says that Bitcoin is still going to continue down lower. You got people talking about a 3K Bitcoin. You got people talking about a 0 Bitcoin, and that cryptocurrency is a Ponzi scam, and it's just designed to rip people off. But then we've got the perspective of what the new age way of spending money and moving money, because that's what cryptocurrency is, ladies and gentlemen. It's just how does money move? Okay? Now, if you're a trader, you principally should only be looking at Bitcoin on the 1 hour time frame, 4 hour time frame if you're a swing trader. If you're a holder, you will be asking yourself the question that how low can Bitcoin go? Because some of you are probably thinking, well, I don't think Bitcoin can go any lower from this point. And even if it does go lower than this point, I would expect money to start coming in when we actually start coming back into these zones. You see, the problem that there is in crypto is this. People judge the basis of a cryptocurrency and where it's likely to end up in the charts purely on how the candlesticks are shown. So if we see Bitcoin come down towards these areas right here, then everyone in cryptocurrency is going to be saying, what, we've seen a bullish candle, or we've seen bullish divergence, bearish divergence, whatever it is that they will then make the conviction of. And then they will say, right, this is the point where Bitcoin's going to turn. Okay? You've got Bitcoin halving coming up. All right? Are they preparing price for that? But quite frankly, Bitcoin is an asset. It's a speculative asset, which has a 71% correlation to the S&P. Okay? So if the S&P is going to start moving in favor to the upside, then we're going to see Bitcoin moving to the upside. Why? Because it means that people's intention of getting money away from the government is going to start putting it back into risk-on assets. Okay? Now, this is the S&P on a 1 hour time frame. Let me bring up Bitcoin on the 1 hour time frame. And you've also got to remember that Bitcoin is open over the weekend. So we are going to have a little bit of a discrepancy in price. Okay? But both Bitcoin and the S&P are flat. Okay? They're at their lows. And Bitcoin usually gives some clues as to what they're likely to end up doing in the near future. Okay? See, Bitcoin's done a good job of coming back down into this range right here. We've got the S&P right here looking to start, which will be opening very soon to going for the Asian futures. So we're going to see a reaction to what's been going on with the news coming out across the board, given that the Fed is going to do this surprise meeting in tomorrow's markets. All right? Now, look what's going on this week, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the ISM manufacturing PMI coming out tomorrow. JOLTS job openings. All right? We got the non-farm payrolls on Wednesday, and then the non-farm employment change on Friday. Thursday is a free day for the markets to trade. All right? We've got lots of information. Now, this is high impact news. And what I advise you do, guys, is you stay away from the markets when the news is about to be released and then start your trading 30 minutes after it's finished. All right? We've got medium impact news coming out next week as well. So if we go into the charts, you can see here. And we've got the Bank of Japan, Kuroda, actually having a speaking about the power that is behind the dominance of the dollar right now. So you can see that dollar yen is still flirting with these highs and looking like it wants to try and come back up into this vector candle range up here. In my opinion, I believe dollar yen is going to aim towards that 150 mark before the Bank of Japan is going to do anything about it. They're talking about an intervention. Okay? Now, we've got the dominance of the dollar, which is also going to be a problem for us. But dominance of the dollar has been taking a nosedive, which is good news for us. But the fact that the Fed's going to have this meeting tomorrow, no one knows what they're going to be discussing tomorrow. Are they going to be discussing the fact that they're going to be increasing their interest rates even more? Could we get quantitative easing coming into play? Will that be discussed? Technically speaking, we are not in that much of a bad position than we were back in the subprime mortgage crisis of 2007, 2008. Okay? We ain't bailing out any banks. Granted, businesses might struggle, all right? You've got Ford absorbing $1 billion worth of inflationary costs. Likewise, we've got the quarter earnings, the fourth quarter earnings coming out soon as well. We know that Apple is reducing its expenditure and its forecast on sales of the iPhone 14. That gives you an indication of the heavyweights. If they are projecting that things are going to slow down, 9 times out of 10, all the rest of the stock market is going to absorb that and they're going to put that into the charts. Yeah? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just help you guys understand something. Tonight, the dominance of the dollar will open. The markets will open tonight at 1 a.m. for the dominance of the dollar. It's advisable that you keep an eye on the Dixie itself, because it's going to tell you when people are going to be transacting on the value of the dollar. We've had certain news come out over the weekend which can impact what traders do in the Asian Open, which is going to be happening at 10 o'clock tonight, which is in a minute's time, ladies and gentlemen. Sydney will be opening in a minute's time, all right? And Tokyo and Hong Kong will be opening a couple of hours afterwards, all right? Now, listen. A lot of you are wondering how low can Bitcoin go, but listen, Bitcoin can only go up, all right? If the yields start to go down and the dominance of the dollar starts to drop as well. Now you can see on the yields itself that we've got some support in this area here. That for me is an indication that they're waiting for certain news plays to come out, which could be related to what's going on next week. We've got a busy week for news, guys. All right? Remember, don't trade during the news. Wait for the news to come out 30 minutes after and happy days. That way you're not thrown about in volatility. Now, the idea of Uptober, Rektober, let's just be straight with it, guys. All right? You are in no position to be getting wrecked. You should not be in any position to be getting wrecked, ladies and gentlemen. You need to manage your exposure, manage your risk. You want to see what wrecked looks like? Look at this chart right here. This is the 12-hour chart for Binance for the liquidation points that are nearby. You can see that we have got a bag of liquidity at 19,420, which has $670 million worth of short liquidations. And over this week, since the 2nd of October, it is the 2nd of October, during this day, they have gone in and eaten some liquidity in the last 12 hours or so. What they've done is they've taken 195 million. We go up 278, go up even more 289, and we go up and we can see that they've topped out at 205. So shorts are getting liquidated, and we've got this one zone right here, which is $670 million worth of short liquidations at 1942. Below that, there's $552 million worth of short liquidations at 19.4. And then below that, there's 19.3, which has another $314 million worth of short liquidations. Now, that's how close they are. If we go even closer to the chart, you will ask yourself, can price move from 19,260 all the way up to 19,420? Guys, that is such a small range for price. If you look at Bitcoin right now, you can see bright as day that it's not too far away from that zone. That would only take you into the recovery of vector candles inside of this range. So if you go down to the 15-minute time frame, You can see bright as day that we've got vector candle zones that they can come into. The main one is this one right here. That's the main vector zone. Yeah? Patrons of the channel, you know what strategy this is right here. You know exactly what this is. Is this the start of something? Because what we're waiting for in principle is we're waiting for the markets to change the narrative that everything is at the lowest point so far. Problem is Wall Street is still calling for the S&P to drop below 3,500. And if you look at 3,500 on the daily time frame, ladies and gentlemen, you look to the left and you can see, where is it? We've got this green vector candle sat on the daily time frame. So if we mark off the range of the S&P itself, at most 3,500 for the S&P. Can the S&P drop another $150 or so? Max $200. Could that be a move that it takes? Because then that would then lead Bitcoin to drop even further, ladies and gentlemen. And that will then take Bitcoin down into these zones right here, which is what? Another vector candle range. If you mark off these two zones, these are the vector candles on the weekly time frame. So if you want the precision of the vectors, you just simply take it, mark it off in that area there, and then mark it right here. And you'll know that these are the vector candles themselves, the lows of the opens of those vector candles. So we can see the range for Bitcoin. Now, this is for the longer term on the premise that the S&P is going to continue to roll over. Now, naturally, we're probably going to get a little bit of a recovery, ladies and gentlemen, because if Bitcoin can hold this zone right here for the short term, we might see a little bit of a squeeze in the chart where Bitcoin will try and come up from this area to recover the vector candles in this range. Yeah? Ryan Mack, happy birthday, my brother. Mad love to you, bro. Yo, people, show Ryan Mack some love, man. It's his birthday today. All right, let's roll over to Ethereum. Now, Ethereum's doing good, given that we do have these vector candle ranges right here. So these are imbalances in the chart that we really need to realize so that we get more information about how likely Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to start moving up. But I'm just going to say it to you. There's not even a point in focusing on Bitcoin and Ethereum individually unless you're paying attention to what the yields are doing, okay? To what the dominance of the dollar is doing, and what the S&P is doing. Simple as. And the reason I say that, guys, is because this determines the investor's sentiment. Bitcoin is last to move. And you can see dollar dominance. We've got a problem. We've got a vector candle range right here that they could come back up and eat, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if we look back on the dominance of the dollar, you can see we've got this cluster right here. This cluster of vector candles in the chart, guys, is a point in the chart which is sort of giving me an indication for climatic behavior. So what do we mean by climatic behavior? We mean that everybody's rushing in at this point to pick up dollars. Now, could this be the peak? Well, let's look at the logic. We've got the ISM manufacturing PMI coming out. If this figure comes out tomorrow below 50, then we would know there's a contraction in the manufacturing sector itself. Now, the manufacturing PMI tells us 300 purchasing managers asked about their rate of level of business, employment, production, new orders, price, supply, deliveries, and inventories. All right? So they're all going to be asked what they think of things. And if they come back feeling optimistic, all right, then that means the Fed hasn't got to worry about manufacturing. Okay? The JOLTS job openings is going to be important as well because the Fed doesn't want people to be having jobs. Doesn't want them in the jobs because how are they going to control inflation? Okay? Now, tomorrow, given that we've got a meeting tomorrow with the Fed at 11:30 New York time, that means when the markets open, an hour after this news play right here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have the Fed having a conversation. So we may get more volatility. So I may be going live tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, so just be mindful of your notifications. Okay? Now, listen, I want to go through a couple of altcoins because I know you guys are going to be rolling out with altcoins, and I know the altcoins have been blessing a lot of people over this weekend. A little trick for you guys is to pull up the totals of the actual altcoin market itself and have a look at what the actual market cap's doing. This is a market cap chart that tells you the flow of liquidity, all right? Don't come to this and start drawing off patterns and what have you. Use it as a chart to tell you where's the flow of liquidity and who's making it most of the moves. In essence, we can see right now that a lot of altcoins on the 1 hour time frame are trading below the 50 EMA. So what does that tell you? That most altcoins might find a little bit of a resistance inside of this zone. We've got the 50 EMA for price to get over and the psychological ranges across all the altcoins. So what altcoins are actually trading above that? All right. So here's an example. RSR, USDT. This bad boy's been making some serious moves in the chart, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see that they've come up towards these zones right here. And they've done a great job over the weekend, trading above the 50 EMA. So that's one of the leaders in the chart. Naturally, you would anticipate that they're going to start pulling things back. You go onto higher time frames, you can see bright as day that this big wick right here is a point where they likely come back into it, but we need to finalize these zones right here. Now, the clue is that this move right here, coming back into the vector candle, could be a support aspect, but we're talking about a very extended move to the upside, and RSR usually has that sort of behavior, but if you look left, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think they're doing? They're recovering the wick. Check this bad boy out. They're recovering that wick, and so far, so good. They've worked into that zone. So keep an eye out on this, because if the total market cap is showing that most altcoins can't even get above the 50 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. Now, these are really for day trading opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. If most of them are pulling back, then naturally the ones that have pulled away from the 50 and are trading above it are probably going to start pulling back as well. But they will then test the 50 EMA and then probably try and initiate a continuation up, because most of the altcoins will look to try and gain a little bit of support inside this zone right here at yesterday's low to try and make a recovery back up into the 50 EMA. Okay? But it all resides on what happens here. Okay? Now, going into the altcoins themselves, what I like to do is I like to look at the altcoins that are losing. I'm not interested in the ones that are winning right now, because I know that they're going to be looking at retracing and potentially initiating a continuation up. So you've got to be careful with this, because the narrative across the board is people are in fear. There's a problem. People just want to make quick buck and get out. So start looking at assets that are losing, okay? So let's look at helium, for example, taking an absolute nosedive. But what's helium doing? Recovering the green vector candle. So we would principally assume that when it comes back into this range right here, that we would expect to turn helium. All right? Let's have a look at comp. What's comp doing? Comp is now finalizing into the vector candle range right here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy days. We marked this off, I believe, last night. They've finalized that zone. So we are now in a point in the chart where anything can happen. It can either collapse from this point or hold. We want to see it hold with the intention of it coming back up into the red vector candle in this range. And go through this exercise, guys. Go in the charts and look at assets. Are they trading above the 50 EMA or below it? Who's leading? Now, I know BNB has been making some serious moves. Let's have a look at BNB. There you go. BNB is moving up. Where is it? Above the 50 or below the 50? Here we go. Above the 50 EMA, but you've got to be aware that there is this contraction in the chart. There's a balance. So we've principally had an imbalance out of the chart itself. So now we're looking for a retrace continuation up to start working its way back up into what? This big red vector candle in this range. This is principally what we would be looking for, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? We'd want Binance coin to effectively shift out to finalize this vector. Because if it finalizes this vector, we're going to get more information about what the intention is at this point. So if Binance is leading the party up and everything starts to move up, Bitcoin is going to lay flat. Dominance is going to drop. Where's the dominance at? See, dominance is starting to roll over. That means that altcoins are going to start having their day. Okay? Looking at Ethereum, she's pretty much going to be the bigger market cap that's going to move the altcoins. And if they're dropping down, most altcoins are probably going to start recovering as well. So you go back to assets like RSR, USDT, and you say to yourself, well, if this is going to hold whilst everything is dropping, I know that this bad boy is going to keep moving up and recover this vector point, and it's going to be the outperformer of the marketplace. So you keep an eye out on RSR, okay? Let's just have a look at Quant, because I know people are talking about Quant quite frequently. Here we go. What's Quant doing? Quant has been moving up non-stop, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely mad moves in this asset. Given that we are in this problem in the marketplace, Anyone that's in profitable positions with quant, pay yourselves. Because right now you're losing money if you're in a long. So why would you hold the trade? Principally, you want to get yourself ready for the next markup phase. Right now, they're marking price down. They're coming back up into this zone right here where we've got vector candle recovery points in this zone. Look at how they kiss this area right here. Look at the precision of that range. That is despicable. Look at that. They kiss those ranges, bounce away from them. So volume at this point is transacting quite aggressively. Not what I wanted to show, but hey. All right. ERG. Let's have a look at ERG. Ergo. Big pump on Ergo right now. So there's something brewing with this asset. Again, when you see something like this, listen, when you see an altcoin making its way to a moving average, when the average of it has been trading sideways, be very cautious. All right? I said this to you guys with XRP. When XRP made that mad move to the upside, ladies and gentlemen, this was the pump and there was your dump. Okay? They've completely come back into the vector candle recovery point. Whenever you see them stabilizing and it's been flat for a while, then all of a sudden there's a mad move in the chart, be very cautious with this, okay? Because they're just doing a pump, with the intention to roll price over again, okay? Right, I've got this comment here. What about Chainlink with their news about Chainlink launching a 2.0 staking programs? Let's have a look at Chainlink. Well, you see, that really has already been absorbed, if I'm honest with you. This run-up by Chainlink has already absorbed the actual fact of this staking, okay? Because when you read news announcements about any crypto assets and you come to the chart and you see it's dropping, they've already had that intention there. They've built it all up. They've made their money on this, all right? That move there. Now, if we've got new news coming out about Chainlink, principally, we would then say to ourselves, okay, then we expect them at some point to recover this vector candle in this range because that is the next point of imbalance in the chart, okay? You've got this vector zone right here as well. So this is a practice for you. Go back in the charts and mark off the vector candles so that when you're trading, you know where you are trading towards. Because whenever price hits a vector point, okay, that's where it starts to stall because they've released the liquidity in the chart, all right? Let's have a look at Asia. Bitcoin right now is starting to take a bit of a nosedive in the chart. We've got markets actually open. Let me just roll over to the NASDAQ and S&P. We had the markets open yet? No, they're not open. So we kind of suss that tonight's markets might be a little bit tricky for us, ladies and gentlemen. So rejection of that 50 EMA, daily open rejection, testing the psychological low zone. So this is a very important point right now for Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, what's happening is all the out of hours markets where all the orders have been prepped and placed over the weekend, they are now being filled. So expect it to be a little bit volatile. Let's go over to Exo Charts itself and we can see what's going on right here. All right, then. What have I got here? See, volume's really low, guys. Look, 9.2, 9.5, 12 million, 10, 11, 9, 8.9, 6 million. It's actually terrible volume. So expect the volatility. Welcome, Crypto Piana. How am I saying that, man? Bitcoin isn't a vector on the 15 yet. Makes sense. There's some movement, perhaps not a freak out point. Listen, if Bitcoin is going to drop, guys, you just need to mark off zones in the chart and say to yourself, okay, then, if I believe Bitcoin's going to continue to move down, drop into the smaller time frames and understand what it's actually doing. All right? Coming into yesterday's low, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 hits of this range, rejection of the daily open. So we can go on the assumption that now that Bitcoin is dropping, look, the move itself is quite an aggressive move. So likewise, they can aggressively come back up. Be cautious because the volume isn't there. Look, there's nothing happening in the chart. And ultimately, guys, if you're going to trade, in my opinion, the best time for you to trade is 5 a.m. UK time, from 5 a.m. UK time all the way through to 3 p.m. New York time. All right? That is the best time because that's where the market is setting everything up. No market is open right now except Sydney, and it's the lowest liquid market out there. Yeah? RSR, what's it doing? Is it moving down? Here we go. Sharp move by RSR, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that bad boy. Climatic candles ripped to the downside. coming in towards the test of this daily open right here. Okay? So this is the proof of the strength of this move. Because if the altcoins are all taking a nosedive, then this bad boy right here, principally, is looking to come down to test its 50 EMA. And the longer it spends whilst everything is dropping, sooner the 50 is going to come towards price, and then we're going to get the balance in the chart. And that is where price is going to stabilize like this. And it's going to leave everyone thinking, oh, is this a bullish flag? Is this a bearish flag? Is it a triangle? Is it a Toblerone? Is it a Fibonacci 1.67432567 the formation of an exotic plant? Like, what is it? It's simple. The markets are working on the principle of standard deviations. How far does it move away from the norm? If this is moving away from the norm, then we would expect it to come back into the norm. Markets only move 30% of the time, and we're talking conventional markets as well. Okay? Look at this bad boy right here. This basing out in the chart. Does nothing for me. Okay? Then price shifts back up into the range. Continuation. Even worse. That's just pure consolidation. Now, for the guy who's looking to try and grab a swing trade on this, he would be getting tested quite aggressively. Yeah? He's looking for a breakout. Well, if he based his high from that point right there, he would have seen the breakout, and he would have taken his trade. He would have been shaken out from there as well. Okay? He would have then extended it to the upside, and he would have said, okay, I'm going to wait for the market to break out and put a limit order in this area. He did it again and brought price back down again. You see why range traders, breakout traders, obviously on higher time frames, a different story because you're factoring more information, but day trading strategies where they're looking for breakouts like this, they're always getting shaken out. Do exactly the same in the charts, guys, and looking for lower points as well. How many times did they break that zone? Trapping traders, making them go short, for them to only reverse it and shift out to the upside. It's crazy games. You know? Go back to Bitcoin for a split second, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Go into the 5-minute time frame on Bitcoin. 19,148. Let's just go to the high block a split second and understand where the liquidity is residing inside of this zone. Okay, then. So Bitcoin is about to come and test this area. It could come and eat that $579 million worth of long liquidations at 19K. Okay? But look, they came up towards this zone, but they left that liquidity right there. So they might want to try and trap some more traders to get more commitment of shorts up here. Okay? So just be mindful. 19K is where there's $500 million worth of long liquidations. That will pretty much set the narrative for the market at the start of the week. Look at this. It's not actually breaking down lower. And whenever you start seeing a red vector candle not finalizing at the lows, that could be an indication that something's about to change. Okay? Listen, if you're going to take a stab at the idea of Bitcoin's going to be trading lower, know when to get out. Don't base it on the value of money. Base it on the movement. Okay? Right now, everyone's running for shorts on Bitcoin. Mr. Market Maker can see that with the absorption of orders, which is why we principally trade recovery of vectors, because that's where you see price recovering back up. Okay? They did it in this candle. They opened up, came up and recovered a little bit, shook out some of the guys who came in at the last minute, and then they rolled price down again. Now we've got a strong open on this one. And now we're going to test the narrative of whether they're going to keep moving price back up. Could this be a V-shaped play? We need to wait and see how the 1-minute time frame is faring on that. How aggressive is the move? Look at how aggressively they moved away from the moving average. Even if you just zoom out, ladies and gentlemen, and look at the 50, you'll see the 50 EMA is acting as a specific point in the chart where they deviate away from and to. But you've got to be mindful of it as well. Ideally, you want to use the 200 EMA on the 1-minute time frame, 200 EMA and the 800 EMA as a point of reference for volatility, because you can see the 50 EMA on the 1-minute time frame is a little bit treacherous. They come towards it, move away from it, and if you're going to run a short, you're really going to be hoping that price breaks down like this. And sometimes it doesn't do that because on the 1-minute time frame, it can aggressively come back. Look at this zone. You take a trade on the break away from the 50, but they came straight back into it again. Now, remember, the time that we're trading is like 8:15, well, 20 to 9 in the morning on a Sunday. It's a dead time. No point in taking trades like that. And you can see how Bitcoin's starting to move right now that we've got a new marketplace that is open. All right? So again, I advise only trade certain times so that you can improve the odds of a trade playing in your favor based on the commitment of traders coming in. All right? Right. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. We're going to be going into the start of the week. Remember, news tomorrow. We have got the Fed having a conversation tomorrow, New York time, 11:30 a.m. There's an important meeting, okay? It's been unannounced, all right? You've also got the ISM. That's it for data tomorrow, all right? Now, Monday is seen as a false move, but when will the false move happen? Is it happening now or will it happen tomorrow, okay? So just be mindful of that. If you've taken some wins, pay yourselves. Because Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is when the markets really make their moves. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure speaking to you tonight, guys. I hope it served some purpose. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be checking in with you all tomorrow when we get that unannounced meeting by the Fed. Mad love and respect, ladies and gentlemen. Take care of yourselves. Peace.